on the money with Secure Money with Brian Quaranta of Secure Money Advisors. All right, I know everyone massacres your name, but is it Italian? Is it where does your last name come from?
It is Italian, Calabrese.
Calabrese.
Yeah, it actually, Quaranta, it is the number 40 in the Italian language.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, didn't know that.
That's really neat.
Yeah, little piece of advice.
Just learned something.
No, a little piece of trivia. And there's a whole other story behind it, too, how it got to be 40, but I'll leave that for another episode.
It really just popped in my mind, like, that is the hardest name to say.
It has been butchered my entire life. I mean, I've had everything from Quaranta to Courtney. I never know where somebody got Courtney from, but it's Quaranta. Yeah.
Quaranta.
Quaranta, that's
so
right.
You give fantastic advice week after week on your radio show, on your TV show.
Yep.
And the biggest thing is that retirement planning and investment planning are two totally different creatures.
Yeah.
So let's just start there.
Yeah, it's well, first, it's the best place to start because this is understanding the fundamentals of building a retirement plan. Because if you have a 401k or an IRA, that's great. That's wonderful. That's a good savings vehicle, but it's probably an investment strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably diversified in different mutual funds or stocks or something along those lines. But a retirement plan goes beyond the investments. It goes into what I write about in my book called the 5 key areas, which is your income, your investment strategies, your tax strategies, your healthcare strategy, and your estate planning strategy. Because if you don't get those 5 key areas right, you're not going to be able to protect yourself from retirement. Why? Because number one, when you retire, you're going to need income now. And if you don't need income now, you're going to need it later. And even if you need income now, you'll probably need more later. Investments change because you can't take the risk that you once took. You don't have time to recover.
Especially when you see what happened last year.
Correct. You just don't, people don't have the time to recover. They're fooling themselves to think that they're going to ride out a market correction. Well, that's fine if you're 30 or 40 or 50 years old, but when you start to get to 55, you're 5 years away from retirement, or maybe 60, you got to start to really rethink your strategy. The important thing in retirement is more about the return of your money than the return on your money, okay? We want to make sure we have our money. We want to make sure we protect our principles. But your healthcare strategy, right? So many people are exposed here when it comes to healthcare. I mean, you're talking $14,000 a month for care in Pennsylvania. You could have a very, very large portfolio and get sick and have that portfolio just disappear, because of the cost of doing that. And there's ways to protect from that without
Do you like long-term care insurance?
There's better ways. There's better ways.
Because that's very expensive.
It is very expensive, and most people can't qualify to get it, right? If you can qualify and you can get it for a reasonable price, I've got nothing against it. But there's better ways that you can protect than long-term care.
Okay.
And then you got
like
your...
what?
Well, there's what we call long-term care riders now on products that you don't have to go through underwriting. Like, for example, a long-term care insurance policy requires you to go through a medical underwriting, right? And most people get declined. But the insurance companies got smart and they said, well, wait a second, maybe most people don't need this this long-term care insurance. And if most of them are not qualifying for it and it's still a major problem, how are we going to fix it? So what do? They create a product that has a long-term care doubler benefit on it. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're going to need $25,000 a year in additional income. Okay. There are products out there that will give you $25,000 a year in guaranteed income every single year. But let's say you get sick, you have a health event. The insurance company will pay you $50,000 a year for every year that you're in a long-term care facility, right? To help you offset that cost. And then if you get better and come back out, they'll start paying you $25,000 again. But if you die, your spouse isn't going to be out of money. People don't realize that the person that's at risk more than anybody is not the person in the facility. It's the surviving spouse that the assets are being drained on. That if that individual's in the nursing home for 3 or 4 years and their assets get drained down to zero, now what? Is your wife going to be absolutely broke now when you die? Is your husband going to be broke? These are not the ways that we want to approach retirement planning, right? So investment strategies are much, much different than the retirement strategy. And of course, the last part of it is your estate planning strategy. Because when the good Lord takes you home, I promise you, if you don't have a plan, the state of Pennsylvania will have a plan for you.
Yes.
And I can promise you, you will like your plan a lot better than the state of Pennsylvania's plan, because we're one of 6 states that still has the death tax. And so when you die and your money's left to your family members, not only do they have to pay income tax on that money, but they have to pay the death tax in the state of Pennsylvania. And that can be anywhere from 4.5% all the way up to 15%, depending on who you're leaving that money to. You know, there was an article in Money Magazine. A son inherited his father's $500,000 retirement account. Now, the son had no idea his dad had saved this much money. And he says, you know, my dad worked every day of his life. You know, he never made over a certain amount. He said, I had no idea he'd saved so much money. Well, the son calls the company that his dad had the money with. They say, send this paperwork in. He does. And son fills it out, and they send him a check for $500,000. And a couple weeks later, son gets a 1099 in the mail, and he winds up owing $260,000 in taxes. So over half of his dad's retirement account gets wiped out in taxation, because when he received that money from his dad's retirement account, not only did he have to pay income taxes on it, but he had to pay the estate tax on it.
Wow.
So these are the things you don't want to get wrong. And this is why I spent the time to put all of this in my book called Right Track Your Retirement, which you can get a copy of. You can scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can call 1-888-382-1298 and get a copy of it there. But what you can also do is you can schedule a complimentary Right Track retirement appointment. And during that appointment, I'll walk you through, my team and I will walk you through these 5 key areas. And they will help you get more clarity and certainty around your retirement. And my one promise to you is this: when you come in, no one from my team will sell you anything. They will never pressure you to do anything. We're there to help give you black and white information to make informed decisions. When you come in, that meeting will be very informative, and it will be very eye-opening. And you'll notice that our team is very welcoming. And, you know, going to see a financial advisor, that can be somewhat a scary process, but it's not at Secure Money Advisors. So call 1-888-382-1298, scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen, and you can schedule with us.
And you can always go to righttrackretirement.com. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
See, everybody can tell you how to invest your money. There's not a lot of people out there and a lot of firms that can teach you how to use your money. Most people will also tell you that they're scared. And the reason they're scared is because they're afraid of running out of money.
The last thing you want to do is have a really good job into your 60s, retire, and be looking for work again in your late 70s.
The average person might say, well, a good portfolio would be a good mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. No, 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 no. A good portfolio is all designed around the 5 key areas: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
We're not just product pickers here. What we do best here is we build retirement plans.
9 out of 10 people, when they walk through the door, would ask us, we just want to know if we're on the right track. And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know it? Probably now.
People, you know, can actually see a vision once we start to really build out their plan.
This is about you. If you're not getting what you need, and you feel that when you walk out of the advisor's office, it's time to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. The difference at Secure Money Advisors, as a fiduciary firm, we help you manage the risk, build the income, and give you the retirement you dreamed of.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for staying with us. We're talking about secure money, about your retirement. The biggest question, we say this in every show: do I have enough money to retire? Am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
And I know that is really kind of what, I don't want to say you look forward to, but you love to show them in black and white what it can be and what it could currently be if you stay in the same track.
Yeah. Well, look, this is why I think people need to work with a good fiduciary firm, because they're going to get a written plan. They're going to be working with somebody that is held to the highest standard by law. And fiduciaries are also required to have a higher level of education to understand the planning process. And so there's a trust factor that comes in when you're working with someone that's, you know, not paid commissions, right? And they're there to help you design and build and engineer a plan so that you can solve the problems that are unique to your situation. And my team and I always talk about, we are problem solvers first, right? We are problem identifiers, and problem solvers. And a lot of times people just don't know that these problems exist because no one's asked them the questions.
Right, there's erosion and you're not even sure there's a crack in your foundation, and then you find out you don't even have a foundation.
That's right.
Which is your income.
That's right, exactly right. And most people haven't built that foundation. And they're going into retirement. About 85% of the people retiring today don't have pensions. And so they're going into retirement thinking that they're going to start just withdrawing money from their 401k or IRA. I call that the hope and pray strategy.
Yeah, cross your fingers with dice in your hands.
That you're not going to run out of money. And that's not the way to approach this. We can build a plan that builds in certainty, right? We can still invest in the stock market, but we can do it in a way that builds in some certainty. And that's everything that we do at Secure Money Advisors. And that's why I wrote Right Track Your Retirement, because the number one question I got all the time when people came in is, are we doing the right things?
Yeah.
Are we on the right track? Well, let me ask, if you were not on the right track, when would you want to find that out?
Yesterday.
Right? So that it's important. It's important for people to get confirmation whether or not they're doing the right things.
A big part of the complementary conversation is the risk analysis.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that third party, that technology, how wonderful it is that it's not just your opinion or your experience, which is vast, but it is actually a third party algorithm that they created in software.
Yeah, well, go back to 25, 30 years ago when you go in and sit down with a financial advisor. It was very easy to say, well, why do you own this stock, or why do you own this mutual fund? And it was a longhand analysis, and then opinions were injected into the conversation. Software has created a non-biased, opinion-proof, analysis. And what that does is it allows the individual just to see black and white data points. And so that's not me saying it, right? This is what the data shows. And it's like having blood work done.
Yeah.
Well, if your cholesterol is high, you can't be mad at the doctor.
That's right.
Right? But the doctor's job is to inform you your cholesterol is high.
And they'll tweak you a little.
And prescribe something that can help. Or maybe just get you on a better diet. Right? And sometimes with us, it's about getting you on a better diet. And that's why I built Right Track, because, there are fundamental processes that need to be followed. And when you do, you get peace of mind. And that's all that everybody wants in retirement. Everybody wants peace of mind. Nobody wants to go into retirement, worried about what the stock market is doing on a day-to-day basis. This is the time of people's lives they're supposed to be out there visiting family, going on trips, taking care of their grandkids. They don't want to turn the TV on and see that the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates again and the stock market's crashing.
And printing money like Monopoly.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of retirement is that for Dad?
Yeah.
If he's worried about retirement all the time, because we hear it all the time. Are we going to run out of money? Are we going to have enough money? Look, you should build a plan that confidently you're not going to run out of money.
So everything under one roof, this holistic approach. You give advice on Social Security as part of your income, longevity as a risk. I mean, who would have thought of that? Living too long is a risk.
Yeah.
So you team up with these specialty-driven people. If someone needs a legacy, you have an attorney you send them to. Let's talk about that holistic approach. You don't have to go to 10 different people to get what you need.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because, how many times over my almost 25-year career have I seen the attorney write up a will or a trust a certain way, but yet all the beneficiary forms on the client's, life insurance policies or investment accounts
say something else.
Say something completely different.
Wow.
And so
that's big.
The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Exactly.
And so by bringing everything in-house and working with these partners and specialists, we work jointly with them, with the client, to make sure that everything stays cohesive. And when you've got the financial planner and the attorney on the same page, you got the financial planner and the accountant on the same page, that makes a world of a difference to the person. And it makes a world of a difference to their money, right? Everything from how the money is going to grow, to how long it's going to last, to the legacy that it leaves, to the taxes that it saves them. So this is where the industry's going. There really is a changing wave, tide going through the industry right now, and that's why the fiduciary. I'm glad. It's an important thing. The industry needed an overhaul itself, because
and consumer protection, quite honestly.
Consumer protection more than anything.
Absolutely.
But what I always tell people is keep it simple. Right.
Right.
This is not complicated. If you're trying to fund your retirement through Bitcoin, it might mean that you've waited a little bit too long to start saving.
Right.
Please don't roll the dice with 40 years worth of work and high risk stuff when you don't have to.
Right.
In my book, Right Track Your Retirement, I actually talk about 3 very important interest rates.
Okay.
And those interest rates are critical to understanding the direction that you need to take with your money. The first interest rate is called your spend down rate. Now, we have to figure out what the spend down rate is because let's say you need $30,000, $40,000 a year from your investments.
Okay.
So what we got to mathematically calculate is what rate of return does your investment need to get in order for you to take out $30,000, $40,000 a year, increase for inflation over time. What rate of return is a portfolio, the minimum rate of your portfolio that it needs to get in order to spend it down to maybe 0 by the age of 95 or 100, okay? So that's the spend down rate. For a lot of people, when you look at that, it might only be 2%. Then you got to figure out the preservation rate. If I want to take all this money out, what rate of return do I need to preserve my principal? And then, of course, the legacy rate is figuring out what rate of return you need to not only take the money out that you want,
Have
but
some
also
left over.
grow the money.
Oh, grow the money.
Grow the money.
So you can leave it.
So you can leave it. Now, once you find out those 3 rates of return and why they're so important is because now it gives you a gauge of where you need to fall with your investment returns. And that now becomes your target.
Gotcha.
And now you're no longer blind, right? So if one year you earn 20% and the next year you're down 10, but you're still averaging 6 or 7, you know you're in line, right? And this is why understanding these fundamentals starts to make the planning process a lot easier to understand.
And that's why you enjoy it, because you say you kind of reverse engineer things. That's why you ask, what are your dreams? What are your goals? And you've told me that first appointment really is kind of a date, like it's a get to know each other.
Yes, yes. And a lot of people ask well, what do you guys trade? Look, I hire the traders, okay? We're the engineer behind this.
Yes.
Okay? People think that trading investments and buying individual stocks is what makes up a retirement plan. No. We hire those people.
Right.
Right? And those guys work for us every single day, and we monitor them every single day. We're the head coach, right?
That's
We're the
right.
lead engineer. We're the one actually putting together the plan. Those traders don't know how to put together a plan. They're terrible at it. But you know what they're great at? Knowing what to buy and sell and when to buy and sell it, and knowing what risk tolerance we need for certain things. And that's why you need a team of people in today's marketplace working for you at all times.
Absolutely. Let's invite everyone and give them that number, Brian. Tell them how painless and wonderful this first meeting could be.
Folks, take advantage of this complimentary Right Track analysis because it really is going to give you clarity and peace of mind. And I'll go through the 5 key areas that I'm talking about with Rebecca here today: the income, your investment strategy, your tax strategy, your healthcare strategy, and your estate planning strategy. My promise to you is if you schedule an appointment, my promise to you is my team and I will never pressure you to do anything. You're never going to be sold anything. Leave your checkbook at home. It is a meeting to help you get more clarity around what you're doing. You have nothing to lose. This is not the time to kick the can down the road and procrastinate. So pick up the phone. Call us. It's 1-888-382-1298. Or you can scan that QR code down at the bottom of the screen, and that'll take you to righttrackyourretirement.com. Or you could just type in righttrackyourretirement.com, and you can go there to schedule your appointment. And as a bonus for scheduling, I'm going to give you a copy of my book, which I'm going to mail to you, and I'm going to pick up the charge of the cost of shipping. So again, 1-888-382-1298. Schedule today. We'll see you at the office.
And you might be on the right track. You might be exactly where you need to be, and they'll tell you that as well. Stay with us more with Brian Quaranta right after this.
See, everybody can tell you how to invest your money. There's not a lot of people out there and a lot of firms that can teach you how to use your money. Most people will also tell you that they're scared. And the reason they're scared is because they're afraid of running out of money.
The last thing you want to do is have a really good job into your 60s, retire, and be looking for work again in your late 70s.
The average person might say, well, a good portfolio would be a good mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. No. A good portfolio is all designed around the 5 key areas: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
We're not just product pickers here. What we do best here is we build retirement plans.
9 out of 10 people, when they walk through the door, would ask us, we just want to know if we're on the right track. And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know it? Probably now.
People, can actually see a vision once we start to really build out their plan.
This is about you. If you're not getting what you need and you feel that when you walk out of the advisor's office, it's time to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. The difference at Secure Money Advisors, as a fiduciary firm, we help you manage the risk, build the income, and give you the retirement you dreamed of.
Welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. The name of the show is Secure Money because that is Brian's #1 goal and his entire team at Secure Money Advisors. You even named your company after it. All right, so people don't think of, I know I didn't till I started hosting these shows. I didn't think of tax planning as a piece of your income because, as Ben Franklin said, a penny saved is actually a penny earned.
Yeah.
How important, what is the difference between tax planning and paying your taxes with your CPA? Let's talk about a very big difference.
Yeah, well, tax planning is much different. That's not what you do in April.
Exactly, but a lot of people don't realize that.
They don't realize it. Getting your taxes done is what you do in April, but tax
Looking
planning.
backwards.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. So, like, at the end of 2022, when people had taken losses in their investment accounts, there's opportunity to take advantage of a tax strategy called tax loss harvesting. So let's suppose that you had $20,000 in losses in an account. Well, you could sell the investments that you took the $20,000 loss in, and that now would become a harvested loss, meaning that you could use it now
To write it off?
To write it off against future capital gains. So if next year you needed to take money out of your account or you wanted to sell an investment that had a capital gain of $20,000, the $20,000 loss could offset the $20,000 gain, and now you pay zero in taxes. And this is why, if you look at what happened at the end of 2022, going into January and February, we saw this big bump in the market, and that's a phenomenon that happens during down markets because big investment firms are selling off investments to take advantage of tax loss harvesting. And the rule is you got to wait 30 days to buy back in. So guess when they buy back in January, and that pops the market, and people think that the market's on a recovery when in fact it's just money entering back into the market. That money left the market to take advantage of a tax strategy. And there's lots of different stuff out there. People don't know about it.
That's so eye-opening.
Backdoor Roth IRAs, Roth conversions, Roth 401ks,
59.5 rule.
59.5 rule, 72T, 55 rule. I could go on and on with all these tax strategies that nobody is being told about because this is not the conversations that people are having with their advisors. The conversations that people are having with their advisors is, we have you in this diversified portfolio and here's what it earned.
And here's your average rate of return. It's not actually the yield, but we'll just make you feel good by saying average rate of return.
Well, you bring up a really great point, and I was just teaching this in one of my courses the other day. And I said, look, if you had $100,000, okay, and let's suppose in the very first year you took a 50% loss. So now you take on $100,000, you lose 50%. Now we have $50,000, right? Now, let's say the next year we gain 50%. Well, basic math tells us this. If I have a minus 50 and a plus 50, and I say what the average rate of return is,
Zero.
Zero. That's right. So you would think that at the 2-year average on an investment that's 0% would mean if you put in 100,000, you still have 100,000.
Right.
But that doesn't work out that way when you apply it to dollars. So let's go through it again. $100,000, you lose 50%, you go to 50,000. But now you gain 50%, but you're only gaining 50% on the 50,000.
Right, so there's your compounded loss because you're only going to go up
$25,000 or back to 75,000, which means you still have a minus 25% loss.
And that's your yield.
And that's your yield, not zero. But guess what the mutual fund companies can legally do? They can legally put on there that they had a minus 50% loss and a 50% gain. They can say our 2-year average is zero, and it's misleading to the client.
See, it's another thing that we talk about, that consumer protection.
Yeah.
I mean, call your legislators. Seriously, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because that's who has allowed it.
Well, the
laws are written that way. The hidden fees, it's rampant.
Correct. And the other thing is, and I talk about all this in the book, but there's a law that says that a mutual fund, okay, if it is selling itself to the public, okay, has to define what it does, meaning it has to define we're a technology fund, we're a growth fund, we're a value fund. And it has to stay 80% invested at all times. So even if that mutual fund has stocks that are going down in value that they should be selling, by law, by a prospectus, the way that they filed that investment, by law, they have to stay 80% invested at all times.
Wow.
And this is the difference between using traditional mutual funds versus using money managers like secure money advisors, where we have professional managers that don't have to adhere to staying 80% invested at all times. And this is why most people are told, don't worry about it, hang in there, you're in it for the long haul, because they can't get out because the fund that they're in has to stay 80% invested. Whereas if you're working with a fiduciary that's professionally managing it, they can move that money out,
right,
and go on the sidelines for a period of time. That makes a big difference sometimes for people. And these are the things that people just don't know about.
Absolutely.
They just don't know about it. The other rule and law is something called churning. And nobody knows that an investment, a broker, if he puts together a diversified portfolio of mutual funds for you, if he moves that money around too much with different mutual funds in a certain period of time, that's called churning.
Okay.
Okay? So even if he wanted to move it around, he's putting himself in a legal situation that he could have liability for churning and lose his license. So think about that.
Wow.
The law is working against the client. The law is working against the client. And then again, this is why it's so important that people work with a fiduciary firm. Folks, the one thing I've always been proud of is that Secure Money Advisors is a fiduciary firm. We're held to the highest standard of ethics, and we have to do what's in the client's best interest. The fiduciary is also educated at a higher level to help understand the planning process. And this is why I want you to take advantage of the Right Track Retirement Analysis, because it is going to be eye-opening for you. It's going to be informative. To schedule this, all you have to do is call 1-888-382-1298. Our team is standing by to take your call and get you scheduled. Also, as a bonus, I'm going to send you a copy of my book, complimentary, absolutely free. I pay for the shipping and handling. Call today, 1-888-382-1298, and schedule with us. We'll see you at the office, and we'll see you sometime again next week, I guess, right?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us. There's a number again, 888-382-1298. We're kind of still at the beginning of a new year. It is the perfect time, especially after what you saw going on in the markets last year. Make sure your money is safe. We'll see you next time.